Well, welcome back to Managerial Accounting, and the purpose of this little mini lecture is to position you for a positive experience on exam number 2. So there are two parts to the exam. There are 32 multiple choice questions, which are drawn from chapters 5 through 8. So that sounds like 4 chapters, 32 questions, sounds like 8 questions from each chapter, and they cover the full gamut of the chapter. And remember, we found on the first exam that people tended to do better on the take-home part than they did on the multiple choice part. And those that did well on the first exam were people who had made a focused effort to prepare for the multiple choice part. So what I would recommend you do, which I did last time, and now hopefully more people will take advantage of this, is to spend more time with, at the back of each chapter, there is the Let's Review section. And that Let's Review section includes 5 multiple choice questions for each chapter. So I would strongly recommend you spend some time with those. Don't jump ahead and look at the answers. Take the multiple choice questions, see how you do before you look at the solutions. Then also, remember there are adaptive exercises for each chapter. And those adaptive exercises are multiple choice questions that directly relate to each objective in the chapter. Gives you lots of experience with being tested on each of the learning objectives. You get feedback on that, and it also lets you know how you're doing in terms of each of the chapter objectives. It has recommendations for you in terms of materials and videos and so forth. You can look at if you struggled with getting those multiple choice questions right. And then if you want a simpler way to practice multiple choice, there are the practice multiple choice questions as well for each chapter. So spend more time this time on getting ready for the multiple choice part than you did last time. Again, those two of you who did real well on the exam, the first one, and those were people who made a concerted effort, as I recall, of spending time studying for the multiple choice. So this is the part you'll do in class on Thursday, the 13th. So when you come, I'll have the multiple choice for you. And the only way you get one of those is you got to hand in the problem part of the exam, which also covers chapters 5 through 8. And there are 5 problems here. So we only did 4 chapters. So I think I doubled up on chapter 5. I think I got 2 questions from that chapter. So the take-home part is posted for you on Brightspace. So you got to download it you got to hand in your responses to it. And when you hand in your responses, remember, it's similar to the homework, and the homework is similar to the exercises and problems we did in class, so there really shouldn't be any surprises in here. But one thing I want to be a stickler about this time, which I didn't make a big deal about last time, I want you to show your work. So last time I forgot to say this, so if you just gave me the answer and it was right, I accepted it. Now, if you got it wrong, it was tough to give you partial credit. But this time, in order to get full credit, you've got to show your work. Most of these things here involve computations and schedules, and so make sure you show your work in the same level of detail that we did in class discussions and also in the homework that you did as well. All right, then there are 5 questions, and these run chronologically in the order of the chapters. So this first one you'll recognize here. We've got janitorial and cafeteria department costs, and we've got to allocate those. And we want to allocate these under the sequential method. You should know what that means. And we're first going to allocate the cost of janitorial to cafeteria cutting and assembly. And what I want you to do is I want you to determine the proportion of usage of the janitorial department by cafeteria cutting and assembly. So you need to come up with the percentages of the costs that are going to be allocated to each of those departments. Each of the janitorial, how much is going to be allocated to cafeteria, how much is cutting, and how much is assembly. And I want you you don't have to give me the dollar amount, but give me the proportion, the percentage that is allocated to each of those 3 departments. As you remember, under sequential, we allocate the first service department to the other service department and the 2 production departments. So it's janitorial costs that are allocated. I want the portion that's allocated to cafeteria cutting and assembly. And of course, you got to show your computations where you came up with those percentages. And the percentage, of course, should equal 100%. So that's the first problem. Second problem, I want you to use the net realizable method of allocating joint costs. When you think of joint costs, think of the story of Elmer the pig, that little pig to my nieces and nephews raised in New Hampshire, and how we had to figure out how to allocate the cost of Elmer after he got dressed. So here it's a company that manufactures face cream, body lotion, and liquid soap, and you've got to allocate these joint costs on the basis of net realizable value. That's also from chapter 5. Next question has to do with chapter 6, and I want you to compute break even based on the current situation of the fixed costs, the sales, the variable costs. You got to get the break even in units under the current scenario. And then there's been a change. They're anticipating making a change to some of their variables that go into break even. So let me know what the break even in units is going to be, assuming that they have, I think it's the contract wages that they changed. They signed a new wage contract, which is going to change their labor rates. So what is the new break even point? Right. So you need to show all your work here. You got to show break even on the original scenario in A, and then B, you got to recompute the break even in units, assuming that they've got a new wage contract that is signed. So show all your work, do it for scenario A, do it for scenario B. That's from chapter 6. Next one is from chapter 7. And what happens is there's a lot of information that I didn't put here up on the slide, but we give you all the information under absorption costing. And now you have to draw upon that information, and you've got to come up with the income statement as if they had used variable costing. So they give you absorption costing, and now you've got to do a new format where they use variable costing. So this is going to require you to do some calculations. Remember, absorption costing includes fixed costs as part of the cost of manufacturing. So you're going to have to reconstitute everything under variable costing, and all the information you need to make that adjustment is given to you in the problem, but you're going to have to come up with a variable costing income statement. And in order to do that, you're going to have to do some computations, figuring out what the variable costs are. And the information that you need is included therein. And then question 5, no great surprise here, and you can use the little job aid that I gave you for this. You got to prepare a full statement of cost of goods sold budget for the Sleep Tight company. Remember, when we did these in class, I suggested to make it easy for yourself, you pull out all the rather tedious inventory calculations to make sure you've accounted for the beginning and ending inventory, the raw materials, work in process, and finished goods. If you do that, it becomes more straightforward. Okay, so this one should look maybe not as neat, but like the one that I concluded on the board for you on Thursday. Okay, and you can use your job aid for this. All right. So in summation here, you've got the exam is on Thursday. Get ready for the 32 multiple choice. Do the review problem, the review multiple choice at the back of each chapter. Take a look at the adaptive exercise. Play around with the practice multiple choice for each chapter. And then when you do the homework, or you do the take home, you got to download it from Brightspace, and you're going to it's going to remember when you do it, it should be similar to homework and similar to what we did in class, but you need to show your work to get full credit for this. Okay, so I hope you found that little review useful, and until next time, adios, au revoir, hasta luego. And as you enjoy your holiday on Tuesday, remember that we're recognizing and honoring the sacrifice of our veterans on that day. Be well, everybody. See you on Thursday. Take care. Adios, au revoir, hasta luego.